You're not being free.
What?
You're not being free.
Well, we are, but what's his name? Someone just said he needs to use the bathroom.
Oh,
So I thought we could just do some cure time while we wait for him.
yeah.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Yes. Introduction prayer. Om Tana Tamalasya Manana Salakya Kashpurumita Mina Tasme Shigurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manavishta Sipita Mina Bhutale Swayam Karamaya Bhakti Karatitva Anatikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Buddha Pada Kalamam Shri Guru Vaishnavascha Shirupa Sagrajato Sahagana Raghunatha Viditam Sadivam Sadevam Sahutam Bhajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakamitam Cha Hey Krishna Krishna Sindhu Ino Bando Nirapate Gopisha Gopita Kanta Radha Kanta Namasute Tapakana Tantana Karangi Rikare Kadap Vishare Vishpanu Sute Deve Kanamami Hari Priye Kalpat Tarupayascha Kripa Sindhu Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanabhayo Vaishnavayo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadhar Shri Vasudevara Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Looks like where we left off at 6:25 last. 6:35 looked like 25 up close. Looked like it was, is it 6:35? Let's see here. So starting up text 26, chapter 6, text 26.
Yato yato nischalati manos chanchalam ashitram tatas tato niyam yatad yat atmani evam vashna nayat. Translation: from whatever and wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. Text 27. Prashanta banasham hi inam yoginam shukam utamam upaita shanta rajasam brahma bhutam akalamasham. Translation: yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest happiness by virtue of his identity with Brahma. He is liberated, his mind is peaceful, his passions are quieted, and he is free from sin. Text 28. Yunjanivam saratmanam yogi vigata kalmasya sukhina brahma samparsam atyantam sukham asnute. Translation: steady in the self, being freed from all material contamination, the yogi achieves the highest perfectional stage of happiness in touch with the supreme consciousness. Text 29. Sarvam bhuta sitam atmana sarva bhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yukta atma sarvatra samadarshana. Translation: a true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized man sees me everywhere. Text 30. Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha maye pashyati tashyamam na parnachamami socha me na parnashyate. Translation: for one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. Text 31. Sarva bhuta shitam yomam vajate ikatvam ashita sarvata vartamanopi sa yogi maye vartate. Translation: yogi who knows that I am the supersoul with all creatures are one worships me and remains always in me in all circumstances. Text 32. Atmoyopamanyena sarvatra samapashyate yo Arjuna sukham yadi vadukaham so yoga yogi parmano mataha. Translation: he is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings, both in their happiness and distress, O Arjuna. Text 33. Arjuna uvacha yoyam yoga twaya proktaha samyena madhuda shudana etashyaham na pashyami chankaletavat shitam shitram. Translation: Arjuna said, O Madhudasana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. Text 34. Chanchalam hai mana Krishna Ramati bhavad kridam tashyaham nigraham manye Vayar iva sudashkaram. Translation: for the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. O Krishna, and to subdue it, it seems to me more difficult than controlling the wind. Text 35. Sri Bhagavan uvacha asham sayam mahabhaho mano durnagraham chalam abhayashyena tu kanteya Veragayana cha grihayate. Translation. The Blessed Lord said, O mighty armed son of Skunte, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but is possible by constant practice and by detachment. Text 36. Ashyamya tatman yogo dushprabha iti me matehe vaishyat matnatu yatata sakyo vaptram upayata. Translation. For one whose mind is unbribed, self-realization is difficult work, but he whose mind is controlled and who strives by means is assured of success. That is my opinion. Final text, 37. Arjuna uvacha ayate shradhayo peto yoga chelita manasa apraya yoga samsidam kam gatam Krishna gachyate. Translation. Arjuna said, what is the destination of the man of faith who does not preserve, who in the beginning takes the process of self-realization, but who later detests due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism? Back to text 26. Translation. From whatever and wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. Report by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The nature of the mind is flickering and unsteady, but a self-realized yogi has to control the mind. The mind should not control him. One who controls the mind and therefore the senses as well is called a Goswami, or Swami. And one who is controlled by the mind is called a Gadashya, or the servant of the senses. Goswami knows the standard of sense happiness. In transcendental sense happiness, his senses are engaged in the service of Hirikesha, or the supreme owner of the senses, Krishna. Serving Krishna with purified senses is called Krishna consciousness, as a way of bringing the senses under full control. What is more, that is the highest perfection of yoga practice. So here we're experiencing the slokas that are talking about the mind and controlling the mind. One becomes very evident, especially during mantra meditation, doing the Maha Mantra every day. You find yourself with a wandering mind a lot of times. And it's through this practice of recognizing, oh, my mind is wandering. I'm supposed to be focusing on the Maha Mantra, the mantra itself and hearing it. It's this practice of recognizing it, then bringing your mind back to the mantra over and over and over again. And what this is actually this is not only purifying, but it's also an exercise of the mind. It's an exercise of putting your awareness where you want it to be, instead of being somewhere back here in the mind thinking about, oh, gee, I wonder, what prasadam's going to be out today, or gee, I got all this service later today, whatnot. And all these crazy thoughts that come up while you're trying to concentrate on the Maha Mantra. But it's one thing just not to get discouraged, because this is all part of the training of the mind. To focus, to be able to create that impeccable focus, to be able to continually bring our mind back to awareness, back to where we want it to be. And awareness is totally on the Maha Mantra. When we begin to do that, we begin to develop incredible focus. And this focus lasts throughout the day, this lasts throughout our lifetime. Those who have incredible focus can accomplish about anything they want to. I mean, look at Prabhupada. He had incredible focus. Incredible focus. He just set out to do it. And even when there's failure after failure after failure, you know, falling in front of him, he just kept striving forward. You know, it was pretty amazing to see a person who's not deterred by failure, but keeps on moving forward, and until he completes his objective, until he completes his goal. And you know, that's what one thing that the Maha Mantra helps you to do when you actually focus properly. Learn how to focus properly, because whatever you're doing, you can use the same principles of the Maha Mantra and just learn to focus on Krishna. You know, if you're getting agitated in your service, you know, your mind's wandering. Your mind is off somewhere else. You got to take the same principles from the Maha Mantra and focus back on Krishna, you know. Text 27. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest happiness. By virtue of his identity with Brahman, he is liberated, his mind is peaceful, his passions are quieted, and he is free from sin. Purport: Brahma Bhuta is a state of being free from material contamination and situated in the transcendental service of the Lord. Mad Bhaktim Babate Param, Bhagavad Gita 1854. One cannot remain in the quality of Brahman, the Absolute, until one's mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord. Sa Vemana Krishna Paravanidayo. To be always engaged in transcendental loving service of the Lord, or to remain in Krishna consciousness, is to be effectually liberated from the mode of passion and all material contamination. This is the ultimate goal. You can't get there overnight. Can't get there, you know, in a few minutes. It takes a lot of practice. Sometimes a lifetime of chanting. Chanting and doing service. This is why Krishna consciousness here in ISKCON is so wonderful. Because from the moment we get up in the morning, we get up, shower, and, you know, come for a morning arti, Mangal arti, and immediately we're engaged in, you know, service to the Lord, service to Krishna. And all throughout our day, you know, we have many services, you know, all different Prabhus have many different services here in this temple. They're not all the same services, but they're all engaged in serving Krishna. And that's an easier way to help keep the mind on Krishna at all times, especially here in the life in the temple. Text 28. Steady in the self, being freed from all material contamination, the yogi achieves the highest perfectional stage of happiness, in touch with the supreme consciousness. Purport: self-realization means knowing one's constitutional position in relationship to the Supreme. The individual soul is part and parcel of the Supreme, and his position is to render transcendental service to the Lord. This transcendental contact with the Supreme is called Brahma Samparsha. Move on to text 29. A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized man sees me everywhere. Purport: a Krishna-conscious yogi is a perfect seer because he sees Krishna, the Supreme, situated in everyone's heart and supersoul, Paramatma. Isvara Sarva Bhutamana Hrideshe Arjuna Tishyati. The Lord, in his Paramatma features, is situated within both the heart of the dog and that of a Brahman. The perfect yogi knows that the Lord is eternally transcendental and is not materially affected by his presence in either a dog or a Brahman. There is the supreme neutrality of the Lord. The individual soul is also situated in the individual heart, but he is not present in all hearts. That is the distinction between the individual soul and the supersoul. One who is not factually in the practice of yoga cannot see so clearly. A Krishna Krishna conscious person can see Krishna in the heart of both the believer and non-believer. In the Srimati, this is confirmed as follows: Atat tat vaksha martitvad atmahi paramo hari. The Lord, being the source of all beings, is like the mother and the maintainer. As a mother is neutral to all different kinds of children, the Supreme Father or Mother is also. Consequently, the Supersoul is always in every living being. Outwardly, also, every living being is situated in the energy of the Lord, as will be explained in the 7th chapter. Lord has primarily two energies, the spiritual or superior, and material or inferior, the living entity. Although part of the superior energy is conditioned by the inferior energy, the living entity is always in the Lord's energy. Every living entity is situated in him in one way or another. The yogi sees equally because he sees that all living entities, although different situations, according to the result of fruitive work, all the circumstances remain the servants of God. While in the material energy, the living entity serves the material senses, and while in spiritual energy, he serves the Supreme Lord directly. In either case, the living entity is a servant of God. The vision of equality is perfect in a person in Krishna consciousness. That's another reason why we call each other Prabhu, recognizing that the Lord within each and every one of us. When I can't remember someone's name, I just say, "Hey, Prabhu." It's my little escape route. But always trying to remember, no matter how difficult someone you're trying to deal with, or if you're having problems, it's always good practice to try to remember, that God is within them, in each and every person that we come across. This is the beauty of being here in the temple, because you never know who's going to walk through those doors. It's only by Krishna's grace that these people are walking through the doors, to come into the temple. It's a wonderful thing, because they are handpicked by Krishna to come through those doors, to come in, have prasad, or hear kirtan, or get a book. You just never know who comes, what stage of path stage of their path they're on. Prabhupada said that don't be surprised by the ones who leave, be surprised by the ones who stay. And that really rings true today. There's a lot of organizations out there that try to peg us as a cult. But we're really bad at being a cult. Really bad, because we have a lot of people leave and very few that stay, because it's temple life. The life of serving Krishna is not the easiest, especially for neophyte devotees. Devotees first starting out, there's a lot of purification going on. There's so much going on up in the mind, so much fight. The mind naturally wants to fight against this. Mind naturally wants to rebel. It's like, hey, wait a second. What about my sense gratification? Hey, there's, we used to have alcohol every Friday night. What about that? Why have you been left out on that? Or used to, smoke marijuana. Why are you, depriving me of that sense gratification? The mind is always fighting, especially in the early stages of Krishna consciousness. Text 30. For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. A person of Krishna consciousness certainly sees Lord Krishna everywhere, and he sees everything in Krishna. Such a person may appear to see all separate manifestations of the material senses, but in each and every instance he is a conscious of Krishna, knowing that everything is a manifestation of Krishna's energy. Nothing can exist without Krishna, and Krishna is the Lord of everything. This is a basic principle of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the development of love of Krishna, a position transcendental even to material liberation. It is a stage beyond self-realization at which the devoted becomes one with Krishna in the sense that Krishna becomes everything for the devotee, and the devotees become full in loving Krishna. Intimate relationship between the Lord and the devotee that exists. In that stage, the living entity attains his immortality, nor is the personality of Godhead ever out of the sight of the devotee. To merge in Krishna is spiritual annihilation. The devotee takes no such risk. It is stated in the Brahma Samhita, Premajana Chirati Bhakti Valachena Santa Sedeva Hridayasha Valakanti Yam Samashundam Achaita Guna Sarupam Kavita Mati Parasham Tam Aham Bhajami. Welcome. If you'd like to join us for our class, we have a class going right now. Don't forget to get some prasadam down in the prasadam hall. We have some nice sweets out there right now. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is always seized by the devotee, whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his internal form of Swayamasudra, situated within the heart of the devotee. At this stage, Lord Krishna never disappears from the sight of the devotee, nor does the devotee ever lose sight of the Lord. In the case of the yogi, who sees the Lord as Paramatma within the heart, the same applies. Such a yogi turns into a pure devotee and cannot bear to live for a moment without seeing the Lord within himself. That's a stage that we're all striving for. Lord Chaitanya expressed that stage, with perfection. He only talked about Krishna's pastimes. It's the only thing that was on his lips at all times. He wasn't doing kirtan, he was talking about Krishna, preaching about Krishna. He couldn't bear to be, separated from Krishna. It was said that he would flow, rivers of tears from his separation. Chaitanya Charitamrita, that's an excellent read. Get to learn about how Krishna, came down in the form of Lord Chaitanya as Sri Krishna and Sri Radharani. Both came together in that form because Krishna wanted to understand, this loving service that Radharani had for him. He wanted to, understand it and feel it himself. So he came down in that form, Sri Radharani and Krishna, into Chaitanya. Text 31. Yogi who knows that I am the Supersoul with all creatures, or one worships me and remains always in me in all circumstances. Purport. A yogi who is practicing meditation on the Supersoul sees within himself the plenary portion of Krishna as Vishnu with 4 hands, holding conch shell, wheel, club, and lotus flower. Yogi should know that Vishnu is not different from Krishna. Krishna is in this form of Supersoul, is situated in everyone's heart. Furthermore, there is no difference between the innumerable Supersouls present in the innumerable hearts of living entities, nor is there a difference between Krishna consciousness person always engaged in transcendental loving service of Krishna and a perfect yogi engaged in meditation on the Supersoul. The yogi in Krishna consciousness, even though he may be engaged in various activities while in material existence, remains always situated in Krishna. This is confirmed in the Bhakti Rasmita Sindhu of Srila Rupa Goswami. Nikilashu avastastu jivanamukata sa uchate. Devotee of the Lord, always acting in Krishna consciousness, is automatically liberated. In the Narada Pancharatra, this is confirmed in this way. Dikalatyayi havachi inni Krishna cheto vidaya cha tomayo bhavati tishpamra jivo brahmani yojatyat. By concentrating one's attention on the transcendental form of Krishna, who is all-pervading and beyond time and space, one becomes absorbed in thinking of Krishna, and then he attains the happy state of transcendental association with him. Krishna consciousness is the highest stage of trance and yoga practice. This very understanding that Krishna is present as the Paramatma in everyone's heart makes a yogi faultless. The Vedas confirm this inconceivable potency of the Lord as follows. Ikopi samba bahudaha yo bhavati aishvaryat rupamikam cha shriyavad bahudayate. Vishnu is one, and yet he is certainly all-pervading. By his inconceivable potency, in spite of his one form, he is present everywhere. As the sun, he appears in many places at once. This is the big difference from trying to just go out there and be a yogi and, concentrate on your, on the super soul at all times, trying to withdraw all your senses and meditate, It's that in this day and age, in the age of Kali, our minds are so short with attention, with our attention span. Especially, it seems like from each generation as we're moving forward, our people's attention span is getting shorter and shorter to where it's very hard to concentrate on one thing for very long. Especially nowadays with social media and things like TikTok, you have these apps that you swipe and you go from video to video to video, all in like 5 or 10 second spans. Teachers are noticing it's having an effect on even kids today, going through school. Their attention spans have become so short. Krishna consciousness, which is so nice, we're not continually trying to just focus on one thing. We're trying to keep Krishna on our mind at all times, but at the same time we have service. We're serving Krishna. By thinking about our service to Krishna, we're also keeping Krishna on our mind. Doing kirtan, coming in for arti, listening to the classes. These are all things that keep Krishna close to us in our mind and our heart. Text 32. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison by his own self, sees the true equality of all beings, both in their happiness and distress, O Arjuna. Purport. One who is Krishna conscious is a perfect yogi. He is aware of everyone's happiness and distress by dint of his own personal experience. The cause of the distress of living entity is forgetfulness of his relationship with God. And the cause of happiness is knowing Krishna to the supreme enjoyer of all the activities of human being. Krishna is a proprietor of all lands and planets. The perfect yogi is the sincerest friend of all living entities. He knows that the living being who is conditioned by the modes of material nature is subjected to the threefold material miseries due to forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. Because one in Krishna consciousness is happy, he tries to distribute the knowledge of Krishna everywhere. Since a perfect yogi tries to broadcast the importance of becoming Krishna conscious, he is the best philanthropist in the world, and he is the dearest servitor of the Lord. Natasmat kashchid me priyatritama. In other words, a devotee of the Lord always looks to the welfare of all living entities. In this way, he is factually the friend of everyone. He is a best yogi because he does not desire perfection in yoga for his personal benefit, but tries for others also. He does not envy his fellow living entities. He is a contrast between a pure devotee of the Lord, and a yogi interested only in personal elevation. Yogi who has withdrawn to a secluded place in order to meditate perfectly may not be as perfect as a devotee who is trying his best to turn every man toward Krishna consciousness. So here it's, as we see the devotional service, being a devotee, being a part of this wonderful movement is much better than just trying to be a yogi out in the wilderness somewhere. I spent some time out in the wilderness up in Alaska, and you hear in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, you want to find God, you go out to the wilderness, go out to the forest. Boy, I tell you what, that sounds simple, but it's actually quite hard out in the forest. There's a lot of unforeseen dangers that one has to look for. Then you have to worry about food and water while you're out there living in the forest. All the different kinds of bugs that come out. And then the animals, Up in Alaska, we had bears. We had wolves. Black bears, brown bears, grizzly bears. You had to, living out in the wilderness is a very dangerous place. Oh yeah, mountain lions. We had mountain lions too. So, just going out to the forest and trying to live like a yogi, you experience all kinds of dangers out there. And if you don't know how to deal with the wildlife, you could probably become a meal one evening. A lot of people don't know how to handle, when you come across a big animal, say like a mountain lion. The mountain lions, thing to keep in mind if you ever come across a mountain lion, they like to attack when it's the most prime opportunity. They don't like to attack someone that's facing them. They want to attack from behind and go after the back of the neck and chomp down. So if you ever encounter like a mountain lion out in the wilderness, you don't turn your back on it. You keep facing it. Slowly back away, but you keep facing it. As long as you're facing it, it's not going to lunge and attack. It's going to come towards you, but it's not going to make an attack to try to kill you. But if you turn your back on it, that's its opportunity. That's its opportunity to get you. So, going out to the wilderness, not the best advisable thing unless you know about the wildlife and the bugs and the plants. There's a lot of poisonous plants out there, a lot of different poisonous bugs, and it's a hard thing to do to live out in the wilderness like a yogi. I was living out in the wilderness for 6 months in the tent out there in Alaska, and that really, waking up in the middle of the night, hearing something outside your tent, not sure if it's a bear or if it's a possum, it can get a little nerve-wracking. But those things happen all the time in the wilderness. What is that, Prabhu? Realized in 6 months, living in a temple is much nicer. That's what I realized. Camped out for 6 months in Alaska. Living in a temple is much nicer than trying to live out in the wilderness. Much safer too. Much safer at the temple. Let's see here, text 33. Arjuna said, O Madhudashana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and endurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. The system of mysticism described by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, beginning with the words Shakkodasha and ending with Yogi Paramaha, is here being rejected by Arjuna out of a feeling of inability. It is not possible for an ordinary man to leave home and go to a secluded place in the mountains or jungles to practice yoga in the age of Kali. The present age is characterized by a habitual struggle for a life of short duration. People are not serious about self-realization even by simple practical means, and want to speak of this difficult yoga system which regulates the mode of living, the manner of sitting, selecting a place, and detachment of the mind from material engagements. As a practical man, Arjuna thought it was impossible to follow the system of yoga. Even though he was favorable, endowed in many ways, he belonged to the royal family and was highly elevated in terms of numerous qualities. He was a great warrior, he had great longevity, and above all, he was the most intimate friend of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 5,000 years ago, Arjuna had much better facilities than we do now, yet he refused to accept the system of yoga. In fact, we do not find any record in history of his practicing it at any time. Therefore, this system must be considered generally impossible in this age of Kali. Of course, it may be possible for some very few, rare men, but for the people in general, it is an impossible proposal. If this were so 5,000 years ago, then what of the present day? Those who are imitating complacement are certainly wasting their time. They are completely in ignorance of the desired goal. So here again, it's stating it's practically impossible in this day and age to go out to the forest or jungle or out in the wilderness, out into the desert, and try to be a yogi. Just impractical, very few can actually do this, very few rare men. So they're basically in a karmic disposition where they're able to do that. But yeah, back in previous ages, the Srimad Bhagavatam, it was saying, find God, go out to the wilderness. Go out to the wilderness and, meditate upon Him. that was one of the ways that people went to find God, find Krishna. Text 34. Oh, well, looks like we're just about out of time. Any questions or comments? Alrighty. Bhagavad Gita ki jai.